Welcome to the OMD TV and podcast show, the place to be to grow and scale your practice. Through our show, we try to give our audiences the opportunity to hear from many of the wonderful success stories in the industry, including some strategies and tactics that these successes have used to generate more patients, income, and profit.
Today, we have a special guest on our show, Mr. Galo Palacio, Practice Manager of Lite Pediatrics. Galo is currently managing Lite Pediatrics and has successfully scaled it to 13 different locations across Florida, USA. Galo is also fluent in both English and Spanish and has accumulated a wealth of digital marketing experience over his years of managing healthcare practices. And for today's topic, we're going to talk about how to manage and scale a multiple location practice. If you're thinking about scaling up your practice to more than one location and you want to know how to increase your practice value and make your practice more sellable, this episode is definitely for you.
Oh, welcome to the show, Galo.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. Now, we're very excited to have you on the show and can't wait to hear and discuss more about your incredible experience managing one of the largest pediatric clinics in the United States. Now, we know a little bit, we know about you, but is it possible that you can just tell the audience a little bit more about you and your experience managing a multiple location practice?
Yes, just to give you a little bit color about what we do, right? We have a very unique business model. Our niche is specific to parents that are busy, and then when they're out of, when they leave their work, they're looking for urgent care services. So what we provide is an after-hours urgent care. You might or not be familiar with it, but usually when you're looking for, if your kid is sick and then you're looking to take it to PCP or physician, right? Usually they have a 9 to 5. And then if you are not in that time frame, you have to wait till the next day. So what we provide is an after-hours medical service for kids. Look at it in this way. We consider ourselves as a budget-friendly option compared with the emergency room. So parents that are, leaving work at 5 o'clock, picking their kids from the daycare, and they see that the kids doesn't feel well, what do? You go to the urgent care, and that's what we provide. We open to midnight, but add value is basically we consist and provide a faster, reliable, and convenient urgent care, right? After hours. Now that we understand a little bit what we do, right? We have a small practice in general, because if you see, we have 14 locations here in Orlando. And when you work in a small practice, you are kind of exposed to everything. So I have a little bit of experience of, operations, HR, and especially in the marketing side, right? I guess, basically now back to your question, right? What my experience is, it's been fantastic. I think when you get exposed to all the things, you learn a little bit of everything. It makes you understand the business as a whole, right? I will say that when you have a lot of practices, and as a manager, you have to relay and relay your team. So there's no way that you can do everything. And that happens when you have 2 or 3 locations. You try to manage and micromanage everything. You want to do, order your collateral. You want to make sure that everything's in place. So you have to delegate. That's the first thing I learned through opening and growing, right? And thinking in this way, whatever you're going to do something, don't do something that if you can do it for 10 locations, don't do it. Thinking like, if you can do it for 100, don't do it for 10, right? So you have to think, if you're really scaling, trying to make sure that the things that you're doing and it's thinking in long term, that your practice are going to grow, and then you can scale everything that you do in terms of reporting and advertising, and of course, ordering and managing your staff and things like that.
Now, first off, I think it was a great qualification about Lite Pediatrics, but also a good introduction to the wonderful services that you do. And I'm sure they're a lot of parents that have benefited and are very grateful for the service of Nightlight Pediatrics, helping them to sort of take care of their children and during these after hours when it can feel much more frustrating and challenging to find the services that you need. What is your role within the company?
Well, I started some business development. So 70% of the marketing strategy, I will say, before COVID pandemic was outreach, grassroots visit. So going to these places that are family oriented and talk about nightlife, make sure that we educate them, right? Because I don't think, especially here in Florida, I don't think a lot of parents knows about what is a urgent care. It's a very new concept for them. And then, if you're coming from a different country, you know that you have to go to the clinic, right? Or the ER. So first of all, that's one niche that we're trying to approach. Specific those people that are from Brazil, from the Latin American countries, to educate them. Also, make sure that they understand the business, right? So what's nightlife is, what we can provide, what the benefits, right? So that I started doing that, doing visits, and then when I went to do my master's and I finished my degree, they offered me the managerial position. So now what I'm doing is basically making sure that not only from the marketing perspective, but from the business development perspective, everything goes smoothly, right? So I manage a team of 4 people, make sure that they do their visits, and I work with other third-party companies like the ones that OEM provides, right? And then make sure that the things are running smoothly. So I'm more like a delegating right now.
Fantastic.
In managing more than I go actually and do the visit. So I make sure that things are in place.
Fantastic. And how long have you been working in this capacity?
Yeah, so I started, I did 4 years around doing business development. And then when COVID happens, actually my team left. Everybody just resigned. So I was myself managing these 14 locations. And that's when the online part becomes so important. And then I now actually, it's been 2 years that as a manager, now trying to focus on the online part, which is, we noticed that, with COVID and everybody from home, it becomes so important, right? So we're trying to capitalize in that sense. And that's what I'm focusing right now.
Right. That sounds good.
Okay. As we all probably know, a healthcare practice is actually one of the most difficult types of business to scale. So what strategies are you using to scale your clinic locations?
Well, let me tell you some of the challenges that you will face, right? First of all, you have to understand the market. When you have locations in different areas, you can, if you're lucky enough, you can replicate your marketing strategy, but you have to adapt. So I'm going to give you an example. When COVID starts, we start this initiative. It was a contactless, right? We're trying to make everything online, right? So the forms and everything, trying to make it simple for the patient so they don't have to touch paper, come to the clinic. When we implement this, right, we noticed that there's some locations that are, or demographic are not tech savvy. And there's some demographics and locations that they know how to get, through the phone and do all the things. So it is important to understand your market. So what we did is, like, for example, for those locations where we see the demographics as tech savvy, what we do, we implementing iPads, so we can actually help them in the clinic to get processed and register patients. When other locations was easy to kind of implement these new services. So understanding marketing is coming also for understanding their needs. So look at it this way: when you advertise it, you can what I don't advertise the same in all locations. Well, we have a valid proposition and we know what we do, right? And we're trying to sell that. But also separate to that, we're trying to advertise trying to solve a specific problems to specific markets. In that sense, I'll tell you, and I'm going to give you an example, right? One of the locations, they use a lot of government insurance. So we're trying to advertise more, right? Medicaid is big part of in that demographic. So we're trying to highlight that. For high level, for like middle high class, they like convenience, they like be in and out fast. So we're trying to highlight that in a specific area, because we understand that those they are looking to solve two different problems. And that's what if you are able to understand your market, you'll be able to scale your practice, right? And be more efficient. So that's what is something that has been working for us, right? How we can provide a specific value for a specific, population. In that case, you had to understand your market.
Mm-hmm. So I know there's a majority, majority of your audience in Florida are actually Hispanic with Hispanic background. So I guess you probably have to cater your marketing, strategy and tactics around the variety of different backgrounds and of the audience that you're working with, right?
Yeah, we do. And in terms of also, sometimes you don't think that language is important, but they do. Spanish people feel confident to go to speak with Spanish doctor or have the forms in Spanish. So we do those changes, or we at least provide that option, right? In the clinics, because that's what we're trying to build, right? We're trying to build frequency. So the first step is bring it to the clinic, but keep it in this, and coming back is important. And we're trying to give you that to the patients. And of course, we cannot do that in every single location. We understand that different locations bring different problems, but at least we offer the solutions. We offer at least the ability to do certain things in their native language. So we have Portuguese, a big community here. We have the Spanish one, and in some areas also the African Americans. We have a lot of Creole, which coming from Haiti. So we adapt that too. From the beginning to the end, we're talking about forms, and then sometimes we have the doctor, or at least a front desk that can help the doctor to navigate the entire experience.
Wow, that seems like a lot of work for managing different group of target audiences there. So on OMD TV show, we're all about helping practices to grow and scale faster. And a lot of practice owners start their practice building journey without actually thinking about their exit plan or any acquisition possibility by another organization in the future. So, but according to our experience, having this mindset of build to sell is critical for practice success, regardless if you want to sell your practice later or not. Because a practice that can run smoothly without too much engagement on your end is actually a sign that you manage to scale your practice beyond you as a single factor that keeps the practice running. So based on your experience, how do you make a practice that is more sellable and attractive to acquirers? That's actually a tough question.
It is, because if you're looking for the financial aspect, right, it's all about profit margins, right, and revenue. So you can have a terrible, practices can have a terrible experience, but the numbers and profitabilities are great. Somebody can make a case to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to buy this practice, have a great numbers, profit margins are fantastic, and have several locations. But now from the marketing perspective, I would say, if you're able to go and ask any parents about Lite Pediatrics, this is how I manage brand awareness, right? Mm. And if they're familiar with the brand, that tells you a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And basically what we've been focusing on in creating that brand recognition and brand awareness in the community, that when somebody knows, I need, and after hours care, they say, I need Lite, right? Like the same when they talk about tissues and they mention clinics instead, right? Brand awareness is important to us because this is the first step to bring you to consideration, and then finally making a possible prospect, a patient. So I will say that when you have a strong brand personality, and that it's linked to all the good positive values by creating great experience, the business sells itself.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Have you, or I guess what I'm interested in understanding is, has the concept of selling the practice in the future ever sort of influenced decision-making within the business? And maybe more so expanding on that idea, like how long has that been happening? Like when you first started, was that ever part of your future planning, or is it something that's maybe just happened more recently, if at all?
Yeah, I think well, from the partner's perspective of the owners, it's always been in their mind to go to a specific number. Because the more locations, it looks you actually, you dominate the market, right? And then it is the goal, I think, from the owner's perspective, to scale the business to the point that they want to sell it. And as a matter of fact, I think happened two months ago, they did. Now, a public company called Pediatrics, known before as a Magnet, just acquired Lite Pediatrics. So we are under the umbrella of Lite, right? And the goal has always been in their mind, right? Long term, as a not only selling but grow the practice and dominate the market. It is part of the long term goals for every owner, for every practice owner, right? In that sense, keeping it that way, we're always trying to make the practice growing and in every single term, right? From the marketing perspective, we have put the things in place to do that, because you need the foundations to grow. And I'm probably going to deviate a little bit about your question, but I'm going to give you an example. Before Lite Pediatrics, I think, well, let me put it this way. We start with, we start with 9 locations, and then we outsource everything online, right? And the goal to grow, it was for us to build marketing in-house. And in order to expand, we need the foundations to expand online, right? So we start working with online marketing for doctors to build a website, right? To build a website that gives you those foundations to scale. We have limitations with the person or with the provider that was offering this service, right? We couldn't use plugins in our website, or add tags, or they call pixels now, Google Ads for retargeting. So a lot of limitations. In order to scale, you're gonna be able to have all these things in place, because you need to be able to retargeting, right? You will be able to also add a live chat in your chat, because and also do changes in real time. And now that we have that foundation, that structure online, we're able to to add things and add locations, because it's important, right? So building that infrastructure, it was priority, and that was part of the growing as a company, actually in the future sell it, which they did, right?
Right. Okay, that's great. I mean, I think that's an excellent answer and a great idea for our audience who are listening today, to sort of consider just how much of your long-term vision had towards selling, and how maybe that influenced some of the decisions that you were making and strategies that you were implementing for your business, keeping an eye on that long-term vision towards becoming a sellable practice in the future. Now, I mean, you've brought up a lot of great points around how you've utilized marketing for scaling. One of the other ways that we notice that a lot of practice they'll scale their practices is by adding in more doctors and have more resources available to them. Can you talk about maybe the struggles or maybe the successes that you've had with finding some of those medical resources, the doctors, the nurses, the things that you need to sort of scale and grow into a multi-location practice?
Well, yes, of course. So, like I say, there's no question. There's a big challenge right now, and especially here in the US, to find doctors. That there's scarcity of doctors, right? Nurses everywhere, so it's challenging. What we have done to alleviate, right, some of these challenges, we have actually telemedicine, right? If you have a practice, and then some of this practice get really busy sometimes, and the way you can adjust a little bit this traffic is sending patients to other locations without sending it. So we use telemedicine. We offer telemedicine for things that can be used for telemedicine, and that way we alleviate the traffic in one specific location, but capitalizing other locations that are not so busy, right? we do also, in addition, we do have partnership with schools and those programs. And for example, I manage the internship program here. And when I need, for example, front desk people that work and talk to the staff, right, to the patients, I was able to offer them to the internships. Hey, we have these jobs, and some of the schools also saying hey, we need some hours that we have students here. So we have been able to bring some of those students and make it part of our staff. In terms of doctors, it's still a challenge right now. There's a lot of businesses, competition is tough, and then big hospitals are coming here to Orlando, so that makes it even more complicated because they're coming with big bucks, right? Sure. They're sitting in cash, and they can make better offers. Mm-hmm. So what we do is to emphasize in the flexibility that we offer, right? We great hours, not so stressful environment and things like that. But right now it's still challenging to have doctors. And the worst thing is you want to do is not open a practice because for a day because you don't have a doctor.
Sure.
So it happens. It happens to us. When you have limited staff and one of your doctors got sick, or it's coming from vacation and the flight is delayed. There's no way. You have to close that location, and you lose a big amount of money that day. But you always be able to move. We were able to move doctors around locations and also have telemedicine to help us alleviate. But sometimes it is what it is. It is a tough environment, and it's hard right now to find doctors and nurses.
Sure, but I think you bring up a great point about how you've introduced a lot of flexibility into your arrangements. So you're right, life happens, doctors become unavailable, we become unavailable for reasons outside our control. That's life. But you've introduced, I guess, a lot of flexibility into your operations by being able to shuttle doctors around practices, being able to offer telehealth as well too, as a way to just sort of, like I said, add more flexibility into it and make sure that you still have options for providing your services. So I think that's very creative.
Yeah, and I believe right now with the new company, they offer compensation for everyone that actually refer to a doctor and they're working for us. And that motivates people, to find, hey, asking for a friend or another doctor asking for bring another doctor to the practice. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, but now I was moved to corporate, right? And we are, as a pediatrics, we are one of our marketing goals is recruitment. So we're running now advertising, pay ads. In LinkedIn and then Facebook, not only to brand awareness, but to get and require and recruit some of the doctors, and making a case that you need to invest now, put some dollars to bring those doctors. Before just put an ad and then have 2 or 3 applications. Right now, you have to sell the benefit of working for specific companies. That's what we're doing right now.
Sounds great.
So regarding looking for finding the right doctors, have you thought about using recruitment specialists like HR, headhunter in order to achieve this goal? Because actually that's the way we're using right now to find talents, because in our industry also it's extremely difficult to find digital talents. And I'd like to hear from you, from your perspective, based on experience. Have you done something like that? Because a lot of our audience right now is also having the same problem, recruiting doctors for their practice so they can expand their services and locations.
I have no experience with any service that help us to get doctors into the offices. As a company, we have our HR department, and the HR kind of is being working alone, I would say, in the sense right now. But now that we were acquired, we have a full, bigger marketing department, a bigger HR department. I'm pretty sure they have an agency right now that's helping us. Because if you're looking from the Lite perspective, 14 locations. It seems not that hard, but from the practice, the corporate practice, right, which is pediatrics, we have around 400 locations, right? And it's not only we'll say office based, but hospital based. So I'm pretty sure they rely now on recruitment services to get this, to get some of the doctors that we need.
Sure.
Okay. So, okay. Now we know that your practice has a new website that has tens of thousands of visits per month, which is quite significant for any practice size. So how important it is to invest into your online presence, like a professional website, improving SEO ranking and traffic, engaging your social media profiles, and building up your 5-star reviews?
Yeah, so definitely. A lot of people think that they can rely on pay ads, and that's not a sustainable practice, right? Or a goal of every practice is build a website that brings patients without putting money on it, right? And that comes with the work. What we have done now, as I mentioned before, we built a website, right? Totally new. We have find out what people are looking for, so we highlight those things and make it easy for the experience from the beginning to the end. So it's very important. We have a live chat. So a lot of new patients, they have questions, right? And sometimes, they don't feel comfortable. This new generation don't want to talk on the phone. So we provide some sort of texting for them to ask questions. What kind of insurance you take? Do you see 19 years old? Yes, we do. A lot of people are, have questions like, okay, pediatrics, I can't take my kid because he's 18. We see newborns to 21, and there's a strong connotation between pediatrics. Patients think that's only to 14 years old or some sort of age, right? But we see young adults too. So it is important to have these elements to bring patients. And now that you mentioned that reviews, realistically, 75% of the people before making a purchase looking at the reviews. I too, when I go to Amazon, and I think a lot of practice underestimate the value of asking for reviews. There's two main reasons why our practices have a strong, focus on this. Practices with high reviews, it helps you to rank higher, right? It gives you more visibility to your website. And also a lot of the patients, and in this case, for our practice, are the mothers. Mothers are the decision maker. They look at these things and they read it. And if you want to go a little bit further, I think everybody should start replying to these comments.
Sure.
Because it's important, right? It is. It's all about perception, and you want to create a perception, and you are answering, and you're replying even the bad comments, because the bad comments give you sometimes the solution of your problems. And a lot of people don't like it. I love them, because every time I have a challenge, or every time I see that my locations are decreasing, I start looking at the sentiment on, Google reviews, Yelp, and Facebook reviews, because if it's something wrong, they tell you right away. So it is important to keep a presence. Reputation manager is important, and have a website that builds the foundation, like I said before, to also scale, right? Because you want to do that, right? It is important.
Yeah, so speaking of a little bit on social media side, because I think lots of practice owners want to hear about this. I know you have been very proactive and advanced in terms of trying to utilize social media platforms to promote your practices in different locations. And I know that you're one of the pioneer in terms of using TikTok to generate more viewers and interest in your services. How successful has it been? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because lots of our audience would love to hear more about how you leverage and utilize social media to generate more interest and inquiries for their practices.
Well, the TikTok actually started when we're in the middle of the pandemic, right? And well, we're fortunate enough to have one of our marketing specialists that she's a mom, and she used to do TikTok with her daughter. So we asked her to start building some of the TikToks, and we noticed that first of all, videos are having more, it get more attention, right? In terms of wherever you're posting something, compared with a simple image. So videos are good. So I always go, if you have to do a post or a video, try to do a video. And then we find out that the span of attention from a parent is just 3 or 2 seconds. So TikTok it becomes so popular for us because, first of all, it was easy to make videos, right? You don't need cameras, you don't need a fancy team to do that, right? If you want to do it informal, right? So you only need a phone, and everything, the tools are there. So we start doing those TikTok videos, and we start posting in all social media platforms. And what we see compared with other posts, we have huge increase on reactions. So we notice that the likes increase, the comments increase, the shares increase. So it was a great brand awareness. So what we're trying to do is it takes 7 times to see our brand, right? To actually remember. And most of the time, for Nightlight Pediatrics, it's not like a parent goes to Facebook and say, "Oh, I have a sick kid right now. Let me find Facebook a doctor." No, right? But what we're trying to do is putting it's putting the name on people's mind, and it's been fantastic because we have been so successful that parents come to us and hear and tell us like, "Oh, that's the lady from the TikTok," they actually mention a specific video or a specific post, and it was like, well, in terms of cost benefit, we didn't spend much money and we have a great success. So I'll say not everybody, it's I don't think everybody will have somebody like us that we are lucky to be so good with TikTok, but it's been working so far. And then what we have is asking her, we're asking now to do more videos, and especially those are informative, right? And it focuses now more in the sense of how we can provide value to the patient, right? Or in this case, to the parent. And I'm going to give you one example. We do videos based on services or in various symptoms. So what happens if you a running nose, right? How you can clean out your kid if they have, mucus, things like that. So we've been focusing on being informative, but at the same time bringing the brand to these videos.
I think you bring up an excellent point there that I think is very valuable for the audience to sort of take away, this idea that multiple touch points, that establishing your brand and awareness is such a valuable thing, because it is either very challenging or difficult to be sort of in their face at the time when they know they need your service. But if you're in the back of their mind historically, if you've developed a sort of engagement with them already, when they don't need you, the moment that they do suddenly need that service, you're clearly going to be front of mind for them. And so I think you bring up a great point around how it's a history. You're building up a relationship with them, even when they don't need you.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So you already touched on the importance of engaging with TikTok, because TikTok is actually a fairly new platform, and with a new social platform, actually they give you more viewership. So basically, you don't have to pay them as much in order to get the viewerships and get a lot of engagement. But that's why we recommend or encourage practices to start using it now before TikTok starts charging advertisers or businesses to get their posts seen, as we have seen so far with Facebook and Instagram. So that's the benefit of using like a new social media channel to start generating new interest for your practices. How about other techniques that you have used today for finding new patients for multiple location practice? How is different from when you're running just one practice? Can you give some audience some effective techniques that you have used so far in terms of generating new patient inquiries?
Well, I'll say that the success of every business is the ability to innovate, right? And if you're able to adapt, right? What happened with COVID, we see a lot of people using TikTok, and that's what we did, right? We switched and we moved from publication, which is It's probably what a lot of people do, put the ad in magazines, put the ad on billboards. But the problem with that is you can't measure that, right? And if you can measure something, you cannot manage it, right?
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge that we have. So when COVID happens, we have to adapt. And I will say, I don't have the probably one answer to solve all the problems, but I will say you have to try different things and see where it works. We do try, for example, ways. We try Google display ads, we try Google ads, Facebook ads, a little bit of Spotify too. But if you rely on the data and you look at what's working, you will be able to find out what is paying off and move your resources according to that. So we did that. So one of the biggest success was, first of all, posting Facebook stories, right? A lot of people don't use this, but they don't look at the feeds anymore. They just go stories and stories. So we noticed a lot of getting a lot of traction. So we start putting more efforts on that. So I will say, trying to, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't get this analysis paralysis. Oh my gosh, all the data I need to analyze before moving. No, don't make mistakes and learn from them. And, try different things, because some of these channels are going to pay off. And it's easier if you understand who is your patient, right? What's your profile? And for us, it's very straightforward. We know the moms are the decision making, and we know the moms spend time on Facebook. So we advertise on Facebook, right? It's very straightforward. So sometimes it's simple that it looks like, right? So if you understand your customer, which we do, and we're in the business of people, and we understand, right? Mm-hmm. And then don't be afraid. Also, I will say, this is my biggest suggestion: don't be afraid to ask your staff. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they have great ideas. Our front desk, one of the best ideas are coming from a front desk. Mm-hmm. Because they talk directly to the patient. Mm-hmm. There's no better customer insight that talks to somebody that actually talks to your customer, and that's the front desk. So don't be afraid to ask questions, or ask for help, or ask suggestions to your staff, and those that interact directly with your potential customer. They will tell you the answer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I have a good insight here, because I know that, we have very good video that we produce in our OMD TV, and we talk about the 3 most important questions in marketing. And the first question is that you got to know who's your target audience, and you got to be really specific of that. And actually, you just talk about how well you know your target audience. And the second thing is you got to know where they're hanging out right now, what platforms, what website they're checking, what blogs are they reading, what social media channel are they more active on. And the third question is how to reach them, how to connect to all these communities, how to be more engaging on these platforms to get attention from these prospective patients. And I think that's a very good lesson for the audience today to take away when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, of course. I'll say that we're in the business to solve problems, right? And it's very straightforward. We understand the patients, where they're coming from. So busy moms that they don't have to take kids to the PCP in the morning. What we're trying to do is provide the best service by focusing on those things, right? Have a convenient location close to them. They don't have to spend too much money. We take most of the insurance, and usually they're in and out in 30 minutes. So it is very convenient. So we understand our demographic. We know what what problems they have, and that's what emphasized, because that's what provides the value proposition in our business, right? The convenience, the accessibility, and of course the care that we provide, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, this has been an excellent conversation. I thank you, Galo. I think some of the more recent points that you've been making around the idea of having to try new things, I think is something that a lot of people don't really do. I think they always want to rely on what they think will be a proven technique, like that'll guarantee them results. And so I think your willingness to sort of try different things, try different strategies, see what works, see what doesn't work, test this stuff out, and then push forward with the things that work is a great idea and a great lesson I think that we could all take care of. The blueprint for success is constantly being rewritten. And so, you know, I think your willingness to sort of try and explore new things is very commendable. So yeah, so, you know, do you have any final advice for the audience today about, you know, ways to sort of scale their practice?
I'll say that I will say rely on your staff first. As a manager, don't be afraid to delegate. And as a business, I'll say that sometimes you need to rely on the data. If you know, there's a you being in the business sometimes so long that you're afraid to, like I say, you know, to move from what you know. And then right now in this very competitive market, we have to look at the numbers, and then, you know, it's something that you need to start adding into your practice. How you can, you know, make smart decisions based on what the data you come up, you have available. A lot of businesses start doing that. I noticed that they start building these data warehouses and these your analytics skills, because as a businesses are coming to place into the market, it's hard to differentiate, right? A lot of the business are becoming commodities. You know, you can't. It is everywhere, right? So data is important. Data is important, and I'll say they start implementing as a growing. Start using it. It will save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and most of the time it will give you the answer to some of the operations, financials, and marketing questions, right? Rely on the data.
Excellent. Excellent advice. Well, thank you very much, Galo, for your time today. We hope that our audience has enjoyed this interview as much as we've enjoyed this interview. Now, if you want to learn more about how to drive more ideal patients into your sales funnels using targeted messages and hooks, I suggest that you attend our webinar called the 3 Must-Use Strategies to Generate More New Patients and Referrals on Autopilot. Spending 1 quick hour with us in that webinar will help you to master the fine art of driving more traffic to your clinic and ensure that you are successfully generating all of the business traffic that you can, instead of just hoping that they'll show up simply because you built it. We'll leave a link to the webinar in the show notes below so that you can sign up for it there. Thank you again, Galo. We hope you enjoyed your time here today.
It's been a great pleasure. I really enjoy having a conversation with you guys. It's been fantastic. I said it's 6 o'clock here, and I feel like I'm not tired anymore. I'm feeling great. It's always good to talk to you guys.
Excellent. Well, we enjoyed chatting with you too. And we hope the audience enjoyed the show. And if you had any feedback that you have on this show, we'd love for you to add your comments in the comment section below. And if any of our listeners are interested in being a guest on the show, we also provide opportunities for that too. So please leave comments for that. Thank you very much for watching and listening in on the OMD TV show today. And we hope to see you at the next show soon. Thank you.
Bye for now.